Colin Kaepernick wasn't born into the world you see him in now. His story starts in a different place, a quieter place. He was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, back in 1987. His first few weeks were a whirlwind, a blur of uncertainty for a newborn. His birth mother, a young white woman, knew she couldn't give him the life she wanted for him. So she made a hard choice, a choice wrapped in love. She decided to place him for adoption, hoping he would find a family that could give him everything. A family that would see him for the bright star he was destined to be. That family was Rick and Teresa Kaepernick. They were a white couple from Wisconsin who had already experienced heartbreaking loss. They had lost 2 baby boys to heart defects, and their hearts ached for another child to love. When they met 5-week-old Colin, they knew he was their son. They didn't see color. They saw a baby who needed a home. They saw a future. They opened their arms and their home to him, making him a part of their family, which already included their 2 older children, Kyle and Devin. They packed up their lives and moved west to a new beginning. The family settled in Turlock, California. It was in this Central Valley town that Colin's roots began to grow deep. He was a Kaepernick. He was loved. But growing up as a biracial kid in a white family wasn't always simple. He had questions. He felt stares. He learned early on that the world sometimes tries to put people in boxes. He saw himself as his parents' son, his siblings' brother. But outside his front door, sometimes people only saw his skin. These early feelings, these quiet observations were like seeds being planted. Seeds that would one day grow into something powerful. Even as a young boy, his energy was undeniable. It was the kind of energy that couldn't be contained by 4 walls. He needed to run. He needed to throw. He needed to compete. Sports became his language. It was on the field, any field, that he could just be. He started playing football when he was just 8 years old. He wrote a letter to himself back then, a 4th grader with a big dream. He predicted he'd be the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. It was more than a dream. It was a premonition, a roadmap he was already drawing for himself. As Colin grew, so did his talent. At John H. Pittman High School in Turlock, he wasn't just an athlete. He was a phenomenon. He was the kind of player coaches talk about for years. He excelled at 3 sports: football, basketball, and baseball. On the football field, he was a commander. His arm was a cannon, launching footballs with incredible power and precision. He was named the Central California Conference's most valuable player, a testament to his dominance. He wasn't just playing the game, he was changing it with his unique blend of passing and running, a dual-threat quarterback before it became the norm. On the basketball court, his height and athleticism made him a force. He was a forward who could dominate the paint, earning all conference honors and leading his team deep into the playoffs. But it was on the baseball diamond where he might have been the most gifted. As a pitcher, his fastball was electric. He could throw a baseball at 94 miles per hour, a speed that gets the attention of professional scouts. He threw 2 no-hitters in one season. He was so good that the Chicago Cubs drafted him in the 43rd round of the 2009 MLB draft, seeing a future for him on the pitcher's mound. Despite the allure of professional baseball, his heart was with football. It was the game that called to him, the one where he felt most himself. He loved the strategy, the leadership, the feeling of having the ball in his hands with the game on the line. Yet, the road to college football wasn't easy. Many major college programs saw his potential but wanted to change him. They saw his tall, lean frame and his incredible speed and wanted to move him to a different position, like wide receiver or safety. They didn't fully trust that a player with his skill set could lead a team from the quarterback position. This was a frustrating time. Colin knew what he was. He was a quarterback. He wasn't interested in being anything else. He held firm to his identity, turning down offers from schools that didn't see his vision. He was looking for a program that believed in him, not just his athleticism. He needed a coach who saw the complete player, the leader, the field general. He waited. He trusted his gut. And finally, a call came from a school that was willing to bet on him, a school that would give him the keys to their offense and let him be exactly who he was. That school was the University of Nevada, Reno. The coach was Chris Ault, a brilliant offensive mind who had created a system called the pistol offense. This offense was perfect for a quarterback like Colin. It blended the power of a traditional running game with the explosiveness of a shotgun passing attack. It required a quarterback who was smart, fast, and had a strong arm. It required Colin Kaepernick. Nevada offered him a scholarship to play quarterback, and Colin seized the opportunity. He packed his bags and headed to the mountains, ready to prove all the doubters wrong. His impact was immediate and historic. As a freshman, he stepped onto the field and showed the world what it had been missing. He was a blur of motion and power. He ran with the speed of a track star and threw with the confidence of a seasoned veteran. By the time his college career was over, he had rewritten the record books. He became the only player in the entire history of NCAA Division I FBS football to pass for over 10,000 yards and rush for over 4,000 yards in a career. It was a staggering achievement, a statistical mountain no one else had ever climbed. He was a two-time Western Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Year. He led the Wolfpack to victory after victory, including a dramatic win in the 2010 Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl against Boston College. But it was more than just the stats and the wins. He gave the program an identity. He put Nevada football on the national map. Fans would come just to see him play, to witness the next unbelievable run or the next perfect deep pass. He was must-see TV, a walking highlight reel who played with a joy and intensity that was infectious. His success was a powerful statement. It was a message to every coach who had wanted to change his position. It was a validation of his own self-belief. He had bet on himself, and he had won. His performance at Nevada made him one of the most exciting prospects for the upcoming NFL draft. Teams were no longer questioning if he could play quarterback at the highest level. The only question now was which team would be lucky enough to get him. He had proven he was a leader, a winner, and a once-in-a-generation talent. The kid from Turlock was heading to the big leagues. The dream he wrote down in 4th grade came true. In the 2011 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers traded up to select Colin Kaepernick in the 2nd round. He was officially a 49er. For his first year, he was the backup, learning the pro game behind the team's established starter, Alex Smith. He watched, he studied, he prepared. He knew his time would come, and he wanted to be ready when it did. The 49ers were a team on the rise, with a tough defense and a brilliant coach in Jim Harbaugh. It was the perfect environment for a young quarterback to develop. His moment arrived in the middle of the 2012 season. Alex Smith suffered a concussion, and Coach Harbaugh called Colin's number. He stepped onto the field against the Chicago Bears on Monday Night Football and put on a show. His performance was so commanding, so electrifying, that even when Smith was cleared to play again, Harbaugh made a bold decision. He stuck with Kaepernick as the starting quarterback. It was a controversial move, but it was one that would change the course of the season and ignite the entire league with Kaepernick's explosive style of play. With Kaepernick at the helm, the 49ers offense became one of the most dangerous in the NFL. He led them on an incredible run through the playoffs. In his very first playoff game against the Green Bay Packers, he delivered one of the greatest performances by a quarterback in postseason history. He threw for 263 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was his running that left everyone speechless. He rushed for 181 yards, a new NFL single-game record for a quarterback, and scored 2 more touchdowns on the ground. The 49ers won, and a star was born. He then led the team to a comeback victory in the NFC Championship game, securing a spot in Super Bowl 47 against the Baltimore Ravens. Though the 49ers narrowly lost the big game, Kaepernick had proven he belonged on the biggest stage. He was a superstar. His signature touchdown celebration, kissing his tattooed bicep, became a national trend known as Kaepernicking. He signed a massive contract extension. He was on the cover of magazines and video games. Colin Kaepernick had reached the pinnacle of his profession. He was on top of the football world. The 2016 season started like any other, but it would become one of the most significant in the history of sports. During the preseason, something was changing within Colin Kaepernick. He was watching the news, seeing story after story of unarmed black men and women being killed by police. Names like Alton Sterling and Philando Castile were echoing across the country. He felt this deep sense of injustice, like the promise of America. The promise of liberty and justice for all just wasn't being kept. He felt he had to do something. He had a platform, and he decided to use it. At first, he sat on the bench during the playing of the national anthem. It went unnoticed for a couple of games. But then, a reporter saw it and asked him why. He explained his reasoning clearly and calmly. He stated, "I am not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color." He was protesting systemic racism and police brutality. After a conversation with Nate Boyer, a former Green Beret and NFL player, Kaepernick decided to shift his protest from sitting to kneeling. It was meant as a sign of respect for military members and veterans, while still making his silent, powerful statement. The reaction was immediate and explosive. It was like a lightning bolt had struck the country, splitting it in two. On one side, there was a massive wave of support. Other athletes, from high school to the professional ranks, began to kneel with him. Activists and citizens praised his courage for using his platform to shine a light on a critical issue. They saw his protest as deeply patriotic, an act of holding the nation accountable to its own ideals. They saw a man risking his career to speak for those who had no voice, continuing a long tradition of athlete activism. On the other side, the criticism was just as fierce. Many people, including politicians and commentators, saw his protest as disrespectful. They viewed it as an insult to the flag, the military, and the country itself. They called for him to be fired. He was booed in stadiums across the country. The debate raged everywhere, on TV, on the radio, at dinner tables. It was intense and often angry. Kaepernick's simple, silent act of kneeling had forced an uncomfortable but necessary conversation. He had turned every NFL pregame into a national town hall on race, justice, and the meaning of patriotism. As the 2016 season ended, Colin Kaepernick became a free agent. He was 29 years old, in the prime of his athletic career, a quarterback who had taken his team to a Super Bowl just a few years earlier. By every measure of talent and experience, he should have been signed by another NFL team. But the calls never came. Team after team, many with clear needs at the quarterback position, passed on him. It became increasingly clear that his unemployment was not about his ability to play football. It was about his protest. The kneeling had come at a great cost. The NFL owners and front offices seemed to view him as a distraction, a controversy they just did not want to manage. They were afraid of backlash from fans, sponsors, and even the President of the United States, who had been a vocal critic of the protests. Kaepernick found himself unofficially exiled from the league he had once helped define. He filed a grievance against the NFL in 2017, accusing the league owners of collusion, of conspiring to keep him out of the league because of his activism. The case was eventually settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, but honestly, the message was sent. While he was no longer on the field, his presence was felt more strongly than ever. He became a symbol. For some, he was a pariah who had betrayed the sport. For others, he was a martyr who had sacrificed his dream career for his principles. His jersey, even though he wasn't playing, became one of the league's top sellers. He was named GQ's Citizen of the Year. He received Amnesty International's Ambassador of Conscience Award. He had transcended sports to become a global icon of social justice, a figure recognized around the world for his courageous stand. The years passed, and he remained ready to play. He posted videos of his workouts showing he was still in peak physical condition. He held a special workout for NFL teams in 2019, but it was surrounded by disagreement and resulted in no offers. His football career, the one he had dreamed of since he was a boy, was over. Not because his arm wasn't strong enough or his legs weren't fast enough, but because he had dared to kneel. He had chosen his conscience over his career, and the league he loved had closed its doors to him. Shut out of the NFL, Colin Kaepernick did not fade away. He pivoted. He took the energy he once used on the football field and channeled it directly into his activism. He had already been donating money to grassroots organizations across the country, but he wanted to do more. He wanted to empower the next generation. In 2016, the same year he began his protest, he founded the Know Your Rights Camp. It wasn't just a camp, it was a movement, a mission to arm Black and brown youth with the tools they needed to navigate a world that was often hostile to them. The camp is a free, traveling youth empowerment seminar. Its curriculum is built on 10 fundamental rights, including the right to be free, the right to be healthy, the right to be brilliant, and the right to know your rights. It brings in experts, educators, and community leaders to teach young people about their history, their legal rights when interacting with law enforcement, financial literacy, and how to pursue higher education. It's about giving them knowledge because honestly, knowledge is power. It's about showing them that they are valued, and that their futures are worth fighting for. The impact of the Know Your Rights camp has been profound. It has traveled to cities all over the United States, from New York to Chicago to New Orleans, reaching thousands of young people. During the global pandemic in 2020, the camp launched a relief fund to provide food, shelter, and support to Black and Brown communities that were hit hardest by the crisis. Kaepernick's work became about building infrastructure for change, creating sustainable programs that would outlast any news cycle and make a real difference in people's everyday lives. He was investing in the future. This work was deeply personal. It was a direct response to the very issues he had kneeled to protest. He wasn't just pointing out a problem. He was actively building a solution. He used his own money and his powerful platform to fund and grow the organization. He was on the ground at the camps, talking to the kids, listening to their stories, and inspiring them to see their own potential. He had transformed from a quarterback leading a team on the field to a community leader guiding a generation toward a better, more just future. Colin Kaepernick's activism soon expanded beyond community organizing and into the world of media and storytelling. He understood that changing the world also meant changing the stories we tell. In 2020, he founded Kaepernick Publishing, a company dedicated to giving a platform to new and diverse voices. He wanted to publish books that would elevate the stories of people of color, stories that have too often been ignored or suppressed by the mainstream publishing industry. He wanted to create a space where powerful truths could be told and celebrated. One of the first major projects from his new company was a children's book he co-wrote with his partner, Nessa Diab, titled I Color Myself Different. The book is based on a true story from his own childhood, a moment in kindergarten when he drew his family and chose the brown crayon for himself, while using the yellow crayon for his white parents. It's a simple, beautiful story about identity, self-love, and the power of embracing what makes you unique. It's a book for kids, but its message is for everyone. Be proud of who you are. His influence also extended into the digital world. Recognizing the power of technology to shape narratives, Kaepernick co-founded a company called Lumi. This AI-powered platform is designed to help creators find and use archival footage to tell their stories. The goal is to democratize storytelling, making it easier for more people, especially those from underrepresented communities, to create high-quality films and documentaries. It's another way of putting power into the hands of the people, giving them the tools to control their own narratives and share their truths with the world. Through these ventures, Kaepernick was building a new kind of playbook. It wasn't about X's and O's on a football field anymore. It was about creating books, films, and technology that could inspire, educate, and empower. He was using his influence not just to protest injustice, but to actively build a more just and inclusive world. He was showing that an athlete's impact could extend far beyond the lines of the playing field into the pages of a book, the code of a software program, and the hearts and minds of a new generation. Today is September 19, 2025. Nearly a decade has passed since Colin Kaepernick first took a knee. His football career may have been cut short, but his impact continues to echo louder than ever. His courageous act forced a national reckoning that is still unfolding. He changed the conversation. Before him, the idea of an athlete using their platform to protest systemic racism was often met with demands to stick to sports. After him, athlete activism has become a powerful and undeniable force for change across the globe. He opened a door that cannot be closed. His influence is seen everywhere. It's in the NBA players wearing I Can't Breathe shirts. It's in the soccer stars taking a knee before a match in England. It's in the WNBA players dedicating their season to Breonna Taylor. Kaepernick provided a blueprint, and a generation of athletes has followed his lead, using their voices to demand justice. The conversation he started about race, policing, and patriotism continues to be one of the most important discussions of our time. He lost his job, but in doing so, he helped awaken the conscience of millions. His work continues to evolve. He pushes for inclusion in all areas, even in sports like hockey, which has historically lacked diversity. He sponsored a youth hockey tournament in Toronto, aiming to make the sport more accessible to kids of color. While some projects like a planned documentary with director Spike Lee were unfortunately canceled, his story has been told in other ways, including the Netflix series Colin in Black and White, which he co-created with Ava DuVernay to explore his formative years. He continues to find new ways to share his message and inspire action. Colin Kaepernick's journey is a powerful lesson in conviction. It's a story about what it means to stand up, or kneel, for what you believe in, no matter the cost. He went from being a quarterback celebrated for his arm and his legs to a global icon revered for his heart and his voice. He risked everything, not for a trophy or a contract, but for the simple, radical idea that everyone deserves to be safe, to be seen, and to be free. His legacy is not written in the NFL record books, but in the ongoing fight for justice and the countless people he has inspired to join it.